the sole occupant being one old slave still chained to the floor. We next have an artist's rendition of ex-slaves coming into Union lines. In April 1862, President Lincoln emancipated all slaves in the District of Columbia, and 9 months later issued the Emancipation Proclamation. Many blacks from nearby states sought refuge in Alexandria. Those who came under Union control were known as contraband. Slaves escaping into Union lines were contraband of war and would not be returned to their masters. We next have a photograph from the period, which is a lot grittier than the artist's representation, and it portrays the arrival of a family in Union lines. Thousands of freed slaves sought refuge around Alexandria, and unfortunately, they often found horrible living conditions, sickness, disease, and death. In 1864, the military governor of Alexandria seized the pasture of a Confederate sympathizer and established a burying ground for freedmen. 1,700 freed people were buried here. This subsequently became a gas station. It was paved over and remained a gas station until the 20th century. With the expansion of the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, the property came back into the possession of the city of Alexandria, and Alexandria Archaeology has been doing excavations and the site being returned to its original purpose. We next have a picture of ex-slaves around Alexandria. The federal government became the main employer of Alexandria's free blacks and freed slaves. Many worked for the U.S. Military Railroad, and others worked for the Office of Commissary. Blacks were a novelty to many Northerners who had never seen an African American before reaching Virginia. By 1864, the so-called contraband population had grown to 7,000. Alexandria provided just what they needed, according to the Alexandria Gazette: protection, plenty of work at a fair price, and punctual payment. Only 25 names ever appeared on the charitable ration list. When the war ended, it took many years for Alexandria to return to its pre-war prosperity. But the military footprint disappeared fairly rapidly. We have a picture of one of the fortifications called Battery Rogers. This was located along the Potomac River near the current Woodrow Wilson Bridge. It had one of the largest cannons in the Union arsenal, called a Rodman gun, which could throw a 302-pound shell if necessary. After the war, the battery was dismantled and its guns removed to other locations in the Washington area. Because of its prime location in the center of Alexandria, land on which the battery stood was quickly sold, and today only a small marker remains where the battery once stood. The battery's giant Rodman gun was moved across the Potomac, where it can be seen today at Fort Foote in Maryland. Confederate raider John S. Mosby, whose picture we see here, was the bane of Northern officers in Northern Virginia. He continued his activities unabated right to the end of the war, when he gathered his men one last time and disbanded, never officially surrendering to federal forces. He went on to become a distinguished railway lawyer and took a prominent role in Reconstruction politics. He died in 1916 at the age of 83. We next have a picture of the Marshall House the place where Elmer Ellsworth and James Jackson became martyrs to their respective causes. It stood until the 20th century, becoming a popular tourist site, and relic hunters continued cutting off bits of the famous hotel. We next have a picture of the Confederate monument on Washington Street. In April 1885, Edgar Warfield, a former private in the 17th Virginia, proposed to the United Confederate Veterans that a monument be erected to the Confederate dead. I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the pictures of Northern Virginia at the time of the Civil War and learning something of the history. To learn more about this period and our book, Alexandria 1861 to 1865, please visit our website at www.timetravel21.com. And we'd love to hear from you, so please drop us a line at timetravel21@yahoo.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.